welcome back to Carsick.my. This time round, I'm going to review the latest Perodua, the Perodua Ativa. When an elongated Perodua axia was spotted doing some real-world testing, many speculations spread around the internet about Perodua launching a brand new SUV. And lo and behold, Perodua finally unveiled the Ativa back in March 2021. And here is the car. Let's take a closer look. At first glance, I noticed the Ativa actually looks bigger in real life than in photos. The overall looks of the Ativa feels muscular, but the size of it remains somewhat adorable. Being a Perodua product, the rear of the Ativa do reminds me of the Perodua Myvi from afar. At the front, the full LED headlights of the Ativa is surprisingly intelligent. This is due to the adaptive high beam being able to switch on and off at certain sections of the headlights to prevent glaring for the oncoming cars and the cars directly in front of you. With the sequential turn signals, it completes the upmarket look of the Ativa. Moving on to the interior, the Ativa sports a much improved interior over any other Peroduas that comes before it. The first thing that I noticed that are greatly improved are the seats and the sitting position. Being a huge person, I no longer struggle to get my thigh past the gap between the steering wheel and the seat bench of the driver's seat. This is an issue that I faced on previous Peroduas. With the seats set to the lowest position, I still feel that I'm sitting quite tall in the Ativa. As for the build quality, the material used in the Ativa are also sturdier compared to past Peroduas. It now feels more like a Toyota rather than a Perodua. Most of the dashboard are made out of hard plastics, but it's very well screwed together. Then again, you still notice some of the cost-saving areas around the interior, such as the sun visor. For the infotainment, the 9-inch touchscreen panel comes with most of the basic functions such as radio and Bluetooth connectivity. As an avid Android Auto user, sadly, Android Auto was not available on the Ativa, which is somewhat disappointing. Storage-wise, the storage locations are generally quite small and limited. I would like to see Perodua provide bigger storage area around the cabin. Heading back to the rear seats, I find the seat bench at the back is rather flat and lack of thigh support. Even with adjustable seat back, I still feel that the seats are quite upright. The rear seats would be more suitable for a short journey. I wouldn't want to be sitting at the back for a long distance journey. The final thing about the interior of the Ativa is the NVH levels. When driving around town and in stop-go traffic, the cabin is generally silent, but once I hit the highway speed, the road and wind noise will start reminding me that I'm still in the Perodua. When I was driving back from Rawang through the North-South Highway, the Ativa has no problem in hitting the highway speed. In fact, it does that without even breaking a sweat. This is achieved by the help of the first ever turbocharged engine that is fitted into any Perodua. The new engine is a 1-liter turbocharged engine that produces around 97 brake horsepower and 140 Nm of torque. This new engine is very responsive, and most of the power comes in at the middle of the rev range. And being a small capacity engine, it's also very eager to reach the red line. In order to send the engine power to the ground, the Ativa utilizes the first ever CVT to be fitted on any Perodua. From standstill, the Ativa is very eager in getting off the line, but once up to speed, the in-gear acceleration starts to mellow down. During initial acceleration and cruising speed, no CVT whine can be heard from the transmission. On the other hand, when I suddenly step on the accelerator between 50 to 70 km per hour, I start to feel the rubber band effect coming from the transmission. On top of that, the CVT whine can be heard. Let's talk about the twisty bits. The Ativa has a rather firm steering characteristic where after taking a corner, the steering wheel needs some persuasion to get back to the center. On the plus side, at least it's not over assisted to the point where you don't get any feedback from the steering wheel. The steering is quite direct and do provide sufficient confidence for me to throw the Ativa around the bends. Even though the steering system in the Ativa is confidence-inspiring in taking corners, I was quickly brought back to reality that the Ativa is still a SUV. At a more enthusiastic pace, understeer and substantial body roll will constantly reminds me of that, and this is particularly obvious when the sudden change in direction due to the inertia from the SUV. Overall, on city roads, the suspension soaks up road imperfection like a much bigger car. At times, if the roads get really bad, the suspension on the Ativa can still feel a little crashy. Utilizing front disc brake and rear drum brakes, the Ativa has only sufficient braking performance to bring the SUV to a standstill. With the biting point of the brake pedal quite low down, I do feel that I have to press the pedal quite deep to get the car to slow down. Safety wise, the Ativa has the most advanced safety system in the Perodua range so far. It may not be the most complete system on the market, but there's nothing to complain about at this price point. At the end of the day, with a pricing of 72,000, this is one Perodua that I wouldn't mind driving daily. I dare to say that this is the best product that Perodua ever produced by far. If the Ativa would come with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, I think Perodua would have the perfect vehicle to suit the modern day city dwellers. But if you constantly travel long distance, I would still recommend you to look elsewhere for a much comfortable vehicle to do your journey in. So stay tuned, leave a like and subscribe for more future videos.